Imagine there was a violent cult committing atrocities with impunity. Imagine there was a violent cult that used scriptures from an ancient religion to convince its followers to do evil things. Imagine the cult was given its own state. Imagine the cult was given machine guns, tanks, and warplanes. Imagine the cult obtained nuclear weapons. Imagine the cult started committing genocide against the indigenous people who'd been living in the area where the cult's state was established. Imagine the cult had huge branches in the most powerful nation on earth, and the powerful nation defended the cult no matter what it did. Imagine the cult flipped out and started relentlessly attacking and invading the surrounding nations. Imagine the cult had so much influence and support in Western society that Western governments and institutions would censor, silence, fire, marginalize, and deport anyone who criticized the cult's actions. Imagine the Western media sympathized highly with the cult and spent the entire time framing its atrocities as entirely reasonable defensive actions and framing critics of the cult as malicious bigots. Imagine the cult kept getting crazier and crazier and more violent, but nobody could find a way to stop it because its actions were backed by this giant Western power structure. That'd suck, huh? I think that'd be about the most batshit insane situation anyone could possibly imagine. A nuclear-armed death cult just murdering and massacring mountains of human beings with total impunity, backed by the most powerful people on Earth? That would be unfathomable madness. If someone made a movie about such a thing, I'd stop watching about halfway through, because I would find it too unbelievable. I'd be like, come on, man. Come up with a more realistic plotline. And come up with a more believable antagonist. Nobody is that evil. I'd be like, come on, Hollywood. You seriously expect me to maintain my suspension of disbelief when you're putting out a movie about these cartoonishly evil bad guys who blow up hospitals and assassinate journalists and murder humanitarian workers and deliberately massacre civilians seeking food? I'd be like, you really expect me to believe a violent cult could get all this power and do all these evil things and get away with it just by lying about it all the time? Eventually people would stop believing their lies. I'd be like, somebody would stop them. Not only does this movie have unbelievable antagonists, it also lacks any believable protagonists. Basic human decency would compel the world to stop these atrocities being committed right out in the open. Where are the heroes in this story? And then I'd storm out of the movie theater, glad to be outside that horrible fictional world where such freakish absurdities were taking place. And then I'd stand in the parking lot and look up at the sky and thank God that I'm back in reality again.